I started.
Look at that. He remembered to hit record, unlike some people I know.
Second episode, our first guest, dude comes in from California to run the Ironman here.
Yeah.
And 2-hour episode, pretty good stuff, a lot of good conversation. I forgot to hit record on the mics, so I had to use camera audio, and it was terrible.
Horrible.
I was wondering why the audio sounded so funky.
Yeah, it was because
knowing the two of you going, why is that audio?
Yeah. We're all talking into the mics. They're not on and recording.
Yeah,
so
no. Pick the patch of oopsie
So
daisies.
we have Byron here, so that way that doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, let's get to it.
Anyways,
everyone,
our guest. Welcome back to the Killbox Podcast. We're very excited today. We've got our guest with us, Mr. Noah Wimberly.
What's happening?
We've both known Noah for decades probably at this point, so we're stoked.
Yeah.
Stoked to have you here.
Yes.
This is gonna be fun.
I first met Noah at Plaza Jalisco.
Yes.
In Olympia, Washington, when you were 11.
I was 11 years old. I was thinking about that driving over here today.
On a Sunday afternoon, I was getting hired. So it was in 2003. You were 11 in 2003, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in maybe 10?
No, 2003, I was 13.
Okay, so you were 13, not 11. So you were 13 years old, and that's when I met you. And then Matt and you were there at Plaza Jalisco after a Sunday service, meeting with Pastor Tim and Pastor Joe. They were getting ready to hire me as the graphics guy at the church, and that was my dual job interview, and he brought you guys, and you and Matt were fighting over the chips or something at the table.
Makes sense.
And
awesome.
that's, your dad had to. And, I don't know if you remember when you were a little kid, but like you would kind of see, you'd be like... You would get so mad at any injustice, and you felt like your father's ruling at the table was unjust, and
it probably was.
Yeah, well, everyone knew.
At least in my mind.
Yeah. Everyone knew, and he had to be like, "Noah, come with me." And you guys went outside, and then you came back better. I don't know what happened.
Yeah. I got told what the consequences were going to be when I got home if I didn't change.
Yeah. So I met you when you were 13, and that's how I met Noah.
That's awesome. We were in youth group together.
Yeah,
so
dude.
we went to high school together. Do you freaking kid builders, middle school, all that stuff, dude. Kid builders.
Oh my gosh, deep cuts.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, dude.
So we all went to or worked at a church called Church of Living Water in Olympia, Washington. It's kind of where we all, synced up. I don't know the term.
Yeah.
But I was on staff first as a graphics person and then as a youth pastor. And your dad was like the family pastor. Yes. And basically taught everybody how to raise their kids, which still to this day, I say that we have great kids because of your dad. And Greg was attending at the time. And did you ever work at the church?
Four times.
4 times.
I was on staff four separate times. First time in high school as facilities, like most of us.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Did you work
Olympia
in facilities
High School,
too? Ole High?
Right.
Olympia High School set up and tear down crew.
404 was opening date. I remember because it was the day after my wedding.
Yeah. It was, those days were...
You guys would sleep in the trucks overnight, right?
Yeah, first when they were all terrified of the gear getting stolen, and then they're like, "Oh, hey, we're gonna make them get up earlier and just deliver it all in the morning."
You guys would get up like 4 a.m.
Yeah, we were in there like 5. I remember.
Yep. And then we would never go to church. We would just go to the wrestling coach's office.
We would go to the other spot and just hang out.
Sleep.
Yeah, we found a TV where we could watch.
Dude, Ole High was some serious work. That's where Eric Nail first played the guitar on the Ole High Kids Club stage, which I was the worship leader.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, dude. You played drums for us a lot of times.
I did play drums.
Yep.
Noah's a phenomenal drummer. Phenomenal.
Nah.
Are you still any good?
I mean, I drum at church. Whether I'm good or not is I think irrelevant. I get asked to play. So
can you play a double bass pedal?
No, I was never taught how to play a double bass pedal growing up
because of the rock and roll.
Yeah, I mean, double bass pedals in the church days were considered the devil. So.
Yeah, that's Satan's music.
Absolutely.
Music.
That's always like my mark. Like, are you really good? Can you play 2 bass pedals?
Can you do 2 pedals at once?
That's like a big part of it.
Yeah, I think I had some drum teachers that like were cool, but like they were youth students in my dad's youth group when I was 9 when I started playing.
Okay.
So like they didn't know how to teach.
Yeah.
They just taught me like the basic, hey, here's 4 beats. This is where you play and place everything. And after that, I was kind of just figuring out on my own. And then,
So I had 3. So Living Water had probably like 15 drummers. I had 3 favorite drummers. You were my favorite for playing style, sincerely, because you played on the Repossessed band, right?
I did.
Dude, when you it was so high. Like you played really driving. Mm-hmm. Like, you didn't play a lot of offbeat stuff. It was just like,
punch you in the face.
I'm gonna punch you in the throat.
Yeah, it was really, really good.
If you don't worship right now, this kick drum's coming straight at your throat.
So honest to goodness, you were my favorite.
Thank you.
Jeremy Williams as a technical drummer, phenomenal.
Oh, he was so good.
Dude,
top tier.
Phenomenal.
Jeremy Williams, I watched him take a hi-hat apart while he played during a worship set and put it back together.
There's just no denying he's just so skilled. So he could kind of play it all, but he wasn't 100%. Very theatrical. You were theatrical.
Yeah.
That's how I won everybody over with my actual drumming.
Yeah. And then on a personal level, Andy Irwin.
Oh,
he didn't play a lot for church, but like the sweetest human being ever born.
Oh, it was so satisfying.
A lot of people don't even know he's actually a pretty great drummer.
Yes, he is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Actually, remember when we had Abraham Laboriel come?
Yes.
And Andy got to play with him?
Yes.
That was 100%. Crazy.
That's from Israel Houghton's church.
Yes.
It's Houghton, right?
Houghton.
That's right. Yeah,
Houghton.
you were right. Yeah. Andy's phenomenal.
Yeah.
He really is actually really good.
Yes.
But he's sort of like, this is how I describe Andy. He's like a lot of like paradiddles and
Noah's like, I feel like he grew up playing.
Noah's this. He's like this all over, and then he splits his hands, and then he goes down low, and it's like.
Everything is
built. You can always do a deep breath right before he hits the cymbals. Mm-hmm. You were so good at the builds.
Especially on the, I think our most promising build we ever had was on our original one, Take Me, that we did.
Yeah.
With the Repossessed band.
Dude, so good.
That one was pretty solid.
Yeah. No, the builds were so
Throwbacks.
Good. Yeah, because you were really theatrical on the builds. You're like, looking around. Oh!
Mm-hmm. You had to.
I think so.
You had to pause for effect.
Yeah, so a lot of people don't know, but Noah's a phenomenal drummer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Okay, so
drumming
we're going to... You're what? Drumming is life? Is that what you said?
No, drumming is there. It's a part of what I do.
Oh, really misheard that.
Close.
Drumming is
Do you
life.
have a drum set at your house?
I do, but it's in cases, and I don't have a spot to set it up.
Do you still have that? Was it a Truth?
Yeah, I still have that.
You still have that one?
Yeah.
Because didn't they like gift you one or give you a really custom one or something like that?
It's a custom one that I got to design because I was sponsored by the drum company on a certain level because they had different tiers that you could get sponsored.
That's a good level, dude.
I mean, it was a good level, but it was mainly because of Repossessed because they didn't necessarily look at skill level. They looked at eyeballs.
Yeah.
How many eyeballs are you going to be in front of?
That's a good business decision.
And so...
thousands of people, that'll do.
Yeah, thousands of people, that'll do. We got to travel and like there wasn't anything signed, but it was just like the agreement was whenever I played, I play my kit.
Play your truth drums.
Yeah.
Bringing the truth. I love it. Yeah, that's a good drum kit though too.
Oh, it's phenomenal. It's a little too big for most arenas.
Wait. It's all physical drum shells are the normal side, but you mean you have too many pieces in the kit?
No, so like the actual design of the kit is designed to be massive.
Wait, what? Really?
So when you design a drum set, I got to design the type of wood, how many plies.
Because yours is sick looking. I love.
Yeah, it's matte black with a matte green stripe on all of my kick and tom shells, and then my snare is reversed. And so my snare is an 8-ply, 14x8 maple snare, and it's designed to be a cannon, essentially.
Oh yeah, it's loud.
Yes,
I mean because you had such a good pop,
Yeah, and then all of my other shells are maple, but then the plies are designed to make the drum set actually sound deeper and louder.
That makes sense because your builds are always like boom, 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 boom.
And mainly
boom,
that
boom.
Was because of the drum set and the way that we designed it. So when I was designing it with Jeff from Chief Custom Drums.
Is that why it was so loud?
No, I also hit it really hard.
Yeah, I was gonna say you blasted that.
There was a lot of times I got called a caged gorilla when I was drumming because I was also in like the plastic shell.
Oh, yeah.
And so, but yeah, we designed it. So definitely want to do another one.
Yeah,
that's a little bit.
Why? So you said two things in there. So you physically oversized the drums.
Yes,
and is that for volume?
More so just the type of drum set that I wanted to create and the sound that I wanted.
Yeah,
I just basically in my
strong. You're a power drummer.
I wanted to design a monster.
Yeah, that's pretty sick.
And when we were designing it with Jeff, we were sitting down and we're talking through like the different plies, and he goes, "You're literally designing a giant." And that's like where a lot of times, like in a church setting, my drum set doesn't fit
into the cage.
Like it'll fit into the cage. It'll be a little tight because it is a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
But at the same time, also the sound doesn't fit the room.
Oh, because it's an arena kit.
It's literally designed to be played in arenas.
Yeah, you were playing in huge
stadiums and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Gymnasiums.
That's pretty sick, dude.
It was fun.
Yeah, that was really cool. And so, just really quick before we move on from the drums, why is your snare reversed? Like, does it mean like it's flipped upside down or
just the color pattern?
Oh,
so the color pattern on the shells are black with a matte green stripe.
Yeah.
And then Jeff he's like, dude, what if we flipped it for the snare just to give it a pop?
Tight.
So then it's majority green with a matte black stripe. So we just reversed the color pattern.
But when you said you designed it to be like a cannon, that's because it's 8-ply. And so you can hit it super hard. But then also, like, again, the design of it. So it's 14 inches in diameter and then 8 inches deep. Mm-hmm. And then the smaller amount of plies that you have, like, for instance, I could be wrong. But if I remember correctly, like a marching snare that sounds really high with a lot. Yeah, it's like pop,
it's
like
a big
piccolo,
crack.
A piccolo snare.
Yeah. So like those are going to have a lot more plies, which is going to make that sound a lot higher,
because
a lot more of a crack.
Because it doesn't reverberate out, it only can go down.
Right.
Got it.
Mine is only 8 plies.
Oh.
And so the smaller amount of plies also is designed to...
You'll get some of the thud like a regular drum.
Which is what I wanted, but then you have the snares on the bottom, which is going to give it the attack.
Rattle.
And that rattle. And so... Yeah.
Attack, rattle, and roll.
The rattle attack.
Yeah, pretty much.
I love it. Do you have a name for your kit? This is a dumb name.
No.
Or dumb question.
I never named it, but...
So I played, a lot of people don't know this about me, but I was in a band that was signed by Tooth and Nail Records. Mm-hmm. And Tommy Walker was our producer, if you know who Tommy Walker is. And my wife actually Yoko Ono'd the band. So my wife broke up the band because she didn't want to travel and do all the band life. And there was a group of girls called Dance Fans, and she wasn't like jealous of the Dance Fans or anything, but she was like, this is lame. This isn't the life I want. And I was like, I will go anywhere for that girl. So I left the band, but we had the bass player from Starfield was in our band, Ben Peterson. His brother, Ryan Wesley Peterson, who right now is the creative director at Meta. Yeah. So like the Snoop Dogg, like avatars and stuff, that was his project. He is a creative genius. He lives in Ashland, Oregon. He was my drummer. He was the drummer for Ruth. He's phenomenal. But he's like I don't know. He's just like, he's really unique in his drumming style. He would have one piccolo snare and like 2 toms, and that's it. Like a jazz kit almost.
It's kind of like a Josh Kennedy. If you remember him.
Oh yeah, Josh Kennedy's a great drummer too.
Yeah.
But anyway, and then we had Dallas Hall, phenomenal guitar player. I can't remember what band he ended up doing. And then, oh my gosh, I just slipped his name. I feel so bad. He was our other guitar player. He was phenomenal. Joel's brother. Oh my gosh, I feel so bad. Well, we're not going to edit this out. I'm so sorry. I can't. Your name is slipping my mind right now. This is awful.
I don't remember.
And then Nathan Botsford. Nate Botsford, who's a solo artist now. I had a lot of really good guys in our band.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, super fortunate. I think I was definitely the weakest link. I was the lead singer.
What was the genre?
It was like, do you guys remember the band Hoobastank?
Of course.
Yes.
Okay, it was like Hoobastank.
Okay.
Yeah, it was really good. All originals, really good stuff. Yeah. But anyway. Oh my gosh, it's going to kill me. Everett. His last name's Everett. What is his first name? Joel Everett's his brother. I'm going to remember it. We're not leaving this cast.
It's like the tide. It always comes back.
Yeah, keep going. Carry on with the interview. I'm going to look it up.
We're going to stay here.
He's a really good guitar player.
We just sit here and just
He
wait.
Started out like our as our second guitar player, but ended up being like just so good. Carry on. No. Carry on.
There we go.
Carry on.
I'm going to look it up.
And we were talking about drums. What were we talking about before that?
Noah was
how
a
we
really
know
good
each
drummer.
other.
Yeah, how we know each other. Noah played on the Repossessed band.
I did.
Dude, me and Eric were just talking about, Eric Nail, about Repossessed not too long ago.
Yeah.
I think mostly that he just missed playing like all the time. Because I'm not going to lie, Repossessed was some of the most fun, especially as like a youth kid.
Yeah.
The one at the Capitol Field in Olympia where it was like, was it 4,000 or 5,000 people?
Yeah, I missed that one. I was in the Dominican Republic for that one.
Were you really?
Yeah.
Who spoke at that one?
It was
that
Invisible
Driscoll?
Children. No.
Yeah, but didn't Mark Driscoll come?
No, Mark Driscoll spoke at Evergreen.
Evergreen.
Oh,
yeah.
I remember that one.
Who was the Capitol guy?
The Capitol one was the people from Invisible Children. And
that was like kind of like the main focus for that one.
Yeah.
What I remember.
There's a big internal argument over whose idea it was at the Capitol because we came up with it on the mission trip flight back from San Diego. My wife legitimately thought of it and had said it to Melody Porter's husband, Keith. Amazing human being.
I love Keith.
Keith and Melody were in, or just Keith was in front or behind us in the airplane. I can't remember exactly. And Marie had said, like, it would be cool if we could do one at the Capitol. And then Shane was in the aisle across from Keith, and they kept talking about it. Not that this matters, but since I have a podcast, I'm going to set the record straight. That was Marie Hunt's idea.
That was Marie
Hunt's idea. Shane and Keith and all those guys pulled it off for sure, so they get full credit. But the idea was Marie's.
Burst out of Marie.
Yep.
That makes sense.
Yeah, because it's super creative.
Yeah.
But we had just gotten back from working with the Invisible Children people and the child soldiers. Remember Coney?
Yeah, Coney.
Yeah.
I just read an article about Coney that said that he had just moved to a different country.
We finally defeated him.
His army is down to 71
we got him.
soldiers. We got him.
We did
Game
it.
Over.
What year was that?
That was 2007.
Yeah, so it's taken us a while to defeat him. It took us a while to get there. But we
about
did
17
it, guys.
years,
Congrats.
but it's cool. We did it.
Figured it out.
There we go. We finally got him.
I don't know if as many people put as much blood, sweat, and tears into the defeat of Coney as we did on the Capitol lawn where we were selling
in Olympia,
t-shirts
Washington,
to raise awareness for it.
Yeah,
but we did it.
We sure did.
We also saved Haiti, if you remember.
I do
after
remember
the
that.
floods.
Yep.
Or
we
was
went
it
to
earthquake?
Haiti.
Was it an earthquake?
No.
Earthquake.
Yeah.
We saved it.
We saved it. Good for us.
We raised
Living
so
water
much
and repossess
saved
the literal nation of Haiti.
Yeah.
Dude. Yeah, we used to play all the time.
Mm-hmm.
We had some like unique experiences for sure. Like we got to record with Jeremy Edwardson, who basically at that time did all of Jesus Culture and Bethel.
That's right.
Yeah.
Down in Reading.
And that was when they did the album, right?
We did the album. We got to record in, I think it's 56th Street Productions.
56th Street.
Oh, that's dope.
And I, like, no joke, from the producer that day, I still have an email from him because he complimented my drumming. And he said that your kick and snare hits were like samples and my engineer didn't even have to touch it.
Oh,
and when I showed that to Sherry Sanderson, she goes, "You don't ever delete that email," because he never says stuff like that.
Sherry Sanderson, amazing human being.
Oh my gosh,
yeah.
absolutely.
She's one of the lead. Is Times 2 still around?
Not that I have
She
heard
was in
or
a
seen
band
anything.
called Times 2, and it was her and
Lori Green.
Green. Great singers, a lot of good harmonies. But anyway, she's a phenomenal singer, great worship leader, wonderful human.
Her and Jeff are fantastic.
Yeah. Jeff designed like all the audio for like not the Kingdom, but
Safeco Field, now T-Mobile Park or whatever it's called.
Like he's amazing. They're just
they're phenomenal.
Wonderful family.
Phenomenal people.
Can't say enough good about them.
Well, doesn't Jaden still do all the mixing and audio for the Mariners games? Their son, Jaden?
I think it might be Taylor.
Oh. I thought one of them was doing it, if I remember.
I think it's Jeff Everett.
Jeff Everett,
Todd
you found
Everett, it? Joel Everett. I think it's Jeff. I'm going with Jeff. I just texted my wife to get confirmation. Jeff Everett, wherever you are, if that is your first name,
we're
it's
thinking
been
of you,
like
Jeff.
15
Don't worry.
years since we've talked. Amazing guitar player.
Still on the forefront of his mind.
Top of my mind. Carry on.
There we go.
This is fun stuff. So 56th Street. Any other cool? You said you had a bunch of wild experiences. What else?
Oh man, we got to travel a lot. I didn't almost get attacked by a bear, but for Repossess, I did have an encounter with a black bear, which was pretty interesting.
No, that's cool.
Actually, two, but it was interesting. Because we got asked to come lead worship at the Southwest Foursquare District summer camp up in I think it's Black Bear, California, where they have like
fitting.
Yes, actually. Which, by the way, the Southwest District for Foursquare, their campground has the best snack shack ever. I'm just gonna say, any snack shack that has cheeseburgers and curly fries for post night service, after dinner, have late night,
the post night service high, like the warm summer wind, and
all you want is a cheeseburger and curly fries.
Yeah, you're just gassed from.
Did they have strawberry shortcake ice cream bars?
Yes, they did.
See,
which slaps.
I'm on board.
There's just certain camp things that hit really hard. Silver Lake out of Medical Lake here in Spokane, Washington.
Yeah,
like their oatmeal in the morning.
Oatmeal's amazing. And if you got on the secret tour to the chocolate lava cake,
absolutely.
I have the recipe. She's given it to 3 people. I was one of them.
Yeah. Do we have some here?
No, but I can get you the recipe.
Seems like a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
We really came up prepared.
Yeah, the wife of the campground manager makes like the best chocolate lava cake
I had the lava cake before. Yeah. And it was actually the night, because I remember Cody Cochran and I, who had grown up in church forever, we both were sitting there talking about something I remember, but then we both came to the conclusion we've never been baptized. So you and Chris Allen, in the middle of the night, it was like night one, we were out there. We just came and told you guys, hey, we've never done this and we kind of want to. And you guys are like, all right, well, let's go. And
we did it.
9 o'clock out into the lake. Cool.
There's another thing we have in common.
Yeah. Super great.
When I got back from the DR, I felt like I needed to get rebaptized, and you were the one that did it.
That's right.
I feel like I'm going to get baptized again
tonight. Kind of makes me emotional. It's pretty rad.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things.
You guys are great, man. So that's really cool. I remember both of those.
Yeah.
Interesting. Stuff. Lots of memes.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had an interesting encounter with a bear, which was fun. I'm literally so like the camp we stayed at, to get to our cabin, you had to walk up this like dirt road that was cut out of the side of a hill. And I'm walking by myself, and like to my right is like a tractor and a couple dumpsters, and all of a sudden I just hear this woof, and just this thumping on the ground, and I just stop and look, and like no joke from me to you, there goes a bear.
Running from you?
Running from me.
How big of a bear?
That's what's up, sucker.
Yeah, I was going to say,
take like, that bear.
Of course it ran from you.
Yeah. But I literally just stopped dead in my tracks, and I just walked backwards because I'm like, I don't know where this thing's going. Yeah. And like, there's legend at this camp of leaders doing what's called bear tapping, because the bears will get into the dumpsters, but they'll like dive head first.
So they won't. So they'll tap
their butts hanging out of the dumpster, and people will like literally run up and smack the bear and then dip out. And
Did
then
you get
like
your tap in?
No, it was running away from me. Then like 2 nights later, we're like the whole band is getting ready to walk back to the house, and somebody goes, hey, I think there's a bear. And like where they dug the road out of the hillside, there's about a 4-foot ledge, and sitting on the ledge was a bear that we were about ready to walk by.
He's just thinking his thoughts, sitting on the little ledge.
Yeah, sitting on the little ledge, thinking his thoughts, going, I know people walk by here, and I'm about to pounce. Yeah. Like, my late night snack is coming.
Why does everyone keep hitting my butt when I'm eating my dinner?
He's just pissed off at all.
He's sitting there trying to watch the dumpster, going, man, like, what's smacking me in the butt while I'm eating?
Every time I'm eating, I just get absolutely accosted.
So we had some interesting memories. Awesome. We stayed in a hotel one night where there was a high school prom. And me, John Balsley, and Eric Nail were sharing a room.
Balsley, dude.
What a room.
What a guy.
What a guy.
I love John Balsley. Was like seriously one of my
chillest
favorite humans on the planet.
Dude, hey, John, you're on fire. Huh?
Oh. Okay.
Let me just wipe that off real quick. Like, I literally. Just unless you mess with his ears.
Oh, yeah.
That makes sense.
He was really protective of like volume and loud sounds.
Yeah.
So him and I would get into some arguments because he'd get mad at how hard I hit the drum sometimes.
Well, he stood right in front of you.
Pretty much.
Mm-hmm. It was Eric, and then Balsley, and then
Ryan.
Yeah. Ryan Williams.
Yep. Ryan Williams.
Ryan Williams on well, he plays keys and guitar.
He plays keys and bass for us.
Yeah, bass. Yeah.
Did Sam Thornton ever play bass for Repossessed?
Not for Repossessed, no.
Because he was mega talented.
Oh,
Sam's super good.
Sam picked up an instrument and didn't even have to learn how to play it. He could just do it.
Yeah.
He made me so mad.
Yeah.
It's very frustrating.
Yeah, he was so talented.
Mm-hmm.
Do
you guys remember at Camp Silver Lake when you guys played with Cammie Bradley?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she's still playing music and stuff here in Spokane, and she's kind of like getting bigger.
Yeah, she's down in LA now for her music.
Voice or something.
America's Got Talent.
Yeah, and she got fairly far.
She was in the finale.
That's amazing.
But didn't win. I think she finished in the top 5.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly.
Good.
That's really, she had
slightly.
Well, I remember when we heard her. We heard her for the first time. I was standing next to Llewellyn. I can't remember his first name. David Llewellyn. Yeah, and she sings for them all the time. We're just like, dude, she does the voice of an angel.
Literally,
she's so good.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Different level.
Wild.
Different level of singing.
This is kind of fun going down memory lane. Not gonna lie.
Right.
The best thing though that ever happened at Camp Silver Lake, outside of Andy and I's camp rules, was the video where Greg and David Nielsen were taking people's pillows in the middle of the night.
100%. I was there for the film that.
His line that like he would wake someone up to take a pillow.
So good.
And the thing that killed me was people would ask, "Why do you need my pillow?" And he goes, "I just need to reach something. I need to stand on something."
Okay. People would just give up their
We had
so
laundry list of items.
Who that night?
Kyle
I remember that because
I remember Kyle Floric. Like he popped up, he looked like a raccoon that just got out of a trash can, getting a double tap on his back. Do you remember Kyle?
Yes,
you had that like night vision, and then everyone's eyes glow.
Yeah,
he was like, oh. We used to call it K-Flow back in the day.
We were filming that video that night, and we found two dudes sleeping in the same bunk together.
Oh no!
We talked to them. We're like, guys, what are you doing? They're like, I forgot my blanket. We're like, but dude, you guys can't sleep in the same bunk. So we made them crawl back. And they did it.
And the best part was you guys actually took their pillows and collected them.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then took them. You took them to the cafeteria in the morning.
It was down to where we all ate outside. There was another table down there. And so when everyone came down for breakfast,
all the pillows were, I mean, you guys got 25, 30 pillows.
We had tons of pillows. We got someone's picture. It was some kid who had a picture of him and his mom we had down there.
Oh, so cute.
That was
so fun. That was honestly... Yeah.
Those are some of the funniest videos we ever made.
The funniest
top
things
tier,
ever, dude.
The camp rules you and Andy did, hands down, the #1 rule video that's ever been produced. I loved the one that had me and David. Kelvin was in it too.
That was
Kelvin
really good too.
Was
that
really
was the
good.
next year after Camp Rules, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That was really good.
I think so. The first year too was the year JJ Hamilton. If you remember JJ,
I do remember JJ.
We
Hamilton.
woke him up, and the wind had caught his sheet just perfectly that it blew it up, and he was sleeping naked. I'm like, oh great, we can't use any of this now, dude. Full pickle, just right there on
Who
camera.
sleeps naked?
JJ
at
Hamilton.
Camp?
JJ Hamilton.
Yeah, you can't.
It was hot. It was hot.
Yeah, those cabins don't have air conditioning.
Yeah, skivvy's okay.
Skivvy's,
you will never smell a smell as bad as a guy's cabin on a 103-degree day after wet whipped cream, like that sounds terrible, but like we would do these big tarp games.
Yes.
And it would be
with a lot of dairy involved.
Yeah, like why so much dairy?
It was milk and whipped cream all the time.
Cream,
yeah,
and Dawn dish soap.
Oh my gosh! And people would just smell like sour milk, sweat, body odor, socks.
Just disgusting.
They haven't showered. It was the worst smell.
People were like, I'm on vacation. I don't shower on vacation. Like, no, please, for the love of God, you're in this tiny, no airflow cabin. Go take a shower.
Me and the boys would go take showers multiple times a day because it was our way of sneaking chewing tobacco into church camp.
Darn it. I actually didn't know that.
Yeah, dude.
I just learned that. Did you do anything bad at camp?
You did.
You did. You got to tell the truth if you did.
One time, you were there for this. Remember when we went to middle school camp at Buck Creek and they almost kicked me out? Because I told Keziah Haskins a blonde joke that she took a lot of offense to.
Really personal, yeah.
Yep, we won't repeat the joke.
Yeah, that's not repeat.
It's not a popular one.
It was not a popular one.
You were on. You got in trouble.
Oh yeah, Ben Kirk almost kicked me out of camp.
That's when Ben Kirk. But yeah. I first started serving. So when I was a graphics guy, I started serving with Ben.
Yes,
and I worked in junior high, and I remember you were a bit of a rascal. Everyone loved you, of course, but everyone's like, oh no,
yeah.
Then of course you go on and become a youth pastor, right?
Yes.
Okay, tell us about that because like when I left in 2012. I think I left in 2012.
Something like that?
Yeah. And then you were there what happened after I left?
So after you left, PJ took over.
Who's amazing.
Yeah, who's also my brother-in-law.
Yep.
I kind of forgot about that.
Yeah. So
we should have PJ on. He's
100%.
Legitimately amazing. He looks like the guy from Maroon 5.
Adam Levine. He's the miniature version because Adam Levine's like 6'5" and PJ's like 5'4".
PJ is not 6'5".
No. He's not. I don't know if he's actually 5'4".
Really organized,
5'4"
really kind, just a cute, wonderful human.
Solid dude.
Yeah, solid dude.
Also drums, by the way. We have a lot of drummers around us.
I forgot he could play drums. That's right.
But yeah, so PJ took over high school, and that was kind of there. Cody Chapman was doing middle school.
Junior high, yeah.
And Afton and I were just serving. Afton's my wife, by the way, Podcast Nation.
She's amazing.
She's fantastic. And we were just serving, working, and then Cody left, and Shane asked us to become the middle school pastors. And we did that, and we were there for 3 years.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And
now your little brother is the full pastor.
Yeah, he's full tilt youth.
Wesley.
Yeah, Wesley's like the full tilt.
I met when he was 6.
Yes.
Now he took my job.
He did.
Like an immigrant. I'm just kidding. That's a joke, but
dude, classic.
I knew I'd train him up and he'd take my job
Yes.
eventually. Anyway, carry on.
Absolutely. Yeah. So then
he's
we
amazing.
got a phone call to go be the youth pastors down in Danville, California.
Which is a rad church. Well funded as well. Much better funded
just
than we were.
Smidge. Just
like,
a smidge.
Oh, you got to go be the rich people. Must be nice.
Well, isn't Danville like one of the richest cities in the state? Something
like
people do really well in Danville. California.
People do really well in Danville. Like the type of people like claim to fame is I actually peed next to John Gruden, who was the head coach at the Oakland Raiders at the time. Mm-hmm. Was at a high school graduation, and I went to go use the restroom. And you know, when you're at the urinal, you just kind of always take a peek to the left and right. Yeah. See who you're peeing next to, see if you want to start up a conversation. And I look to my right. I'm like, oh my God, that's John Gruden.
I wouldn't even know who that was.
I'd like to thank him for getting
John
Josh
Gruden
Jacobs
might be like, dude,
team.
I peed next to the guy from Killbox.
Yeah, exactly what he would say.
But yeah, we were
John,
there.
you're welcome to come on the show.
Yeah. Come defend yourself to the NFL because your case didn't go well.
It did not go well for you.
He lost that one again.
Bummer for
Whoops.
John.
Don't put things in emails, bro.
Yeah, he did put everything in writing.
He sure did.
So you go down to Danville. How long were you there?
We were there for 5 years.
That's a good run as a youth pastor.
Good run. Wasn't just the youth pastor, though.
I was but it's cool.
Yes. We started out as the youth pastors, then we took over college, and then they asked me to be the next gen director.
Okay.
So like I oversaw everything from cradle to college.
Yeah, you did.
We wanted to start an internship, and they asked me to start that. So I was starting that.
That's where your nightmares began.
And then we inherited a campus from Foursquare, about 25 minutes up in a town called Vallejo.
Yeah, Vallejo, yeah.
And we were the campus pastors from there.
Yeah.
For that campus.
Are you actively a pastor right now?
No.
Okay, sorry.
No,
I was curious because I'm going to ask you some questions about being a pastor. I'm curious to see if we had the same experiences.
Let's see how it goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were there for 5 years, and I was doing those 5 full-time roles, and then we started bringing people on to take some of those off of my plate.
Yeah.
Which was great. But then I'm also somebody who's highly passionate about a lot of things. Mm-hmm. And so like we were always trying to have cool stage sets and apparel. And so I was helping create these.
You were good at swag.
You
were really good
videos.
at
like those are the stuff that I could do. And so like I was investing in all of this. And, when you do a lot of things that I think people have a lot of bandwidth, and then it comes to a point where your bandwidth just runs out because what you do doesn't actually fill you up anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And got to a point where I was like laying on my living room floor talking to my wife who had struggled with depression after her parents got divorced. And I just said, what does depression feel like? Because
I think I might have it.
I don't know why, but like I just don't like nothing I do that always used to fill me up doesn't fill me up anymore. And I don't know why. And my wife's like, as all good wives do, they're like, well, I know why. And you're like, that kind of, which was also interesting too, because I was like I was working with a doctor in Danville, and I lost about like almost 70 pounds.
Dang.
Wow.
And like was basically like reversing a lot of health stuff, which was really cool. So like my physical body was doing really well, but my mental, just overall health was like depleting.
Just shot.
Oh, just shot. And I was game over.
Yeah.
And then we were in Danville for 5 years and asked to go on a sabbatical. And we went on a sabbatical. We went to a counseling center in Virginia through Foursquare, which is phenomenal. Got to meet with a counselor named Paul Kuzma, who's just like talking to your favorite grandpa.
That's awesome. Was it Crossroads?
Wasn't Crossroads. At least I don't think it was. I don't know if it's called Crossroads.
I didn't know. Marie and I have a similar story. We were sent to a counseling center in Colorado called Crossroads.
Oh, with Will?
Yeah, with Will was our counselor.
Will wasn't our counselor because we tried to go to Colorado, but he was booked way too far out.
Oh man, I'm so glad you got someone amazing because Will was phenomenal.
I knew a lot of people.
Your dad was the one who recommended us to go to Will.
No, yeah, Will's
burnout.
Will's a stud.
By the way, burnout's like a hugely real thing in ministry. I want to talk about
100%.
Yeah.
And we went to counseling in Virginia for a week, and the same way it happened with my health, I took all these health assessments, And according to my like primary care doctor, my health was good. And then I sat down with this doctor who's like a health and wellness guy, and he does different reports, and basically said like,
oh, it's real bad.
Yeah. He goes, when you look at that, what do you think? And like, I literally am sitting in his office crying, and I'm like, I'm going to die of a heart attack when I'm 45.
Yeah.
As that's basically what it looked like.
Nervous system shut down. Like,
yeah. Like my liver was jacked up. Like all these numbers weren't good. And then I go to counseling thinking like, oh, I'm here to like get ahead of burnout because I'm like that guy, like I'm good. And then I take these assessments and it comes back and like I'm so far on like the end of burnout where it's like I'm almost at the extreme level.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a giant wake up call.
Yeah.
And then,
by the way, in other countries, the term is burnout, and like in the UK, that's an actual medical condition.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a real thing. And what happens is like your nervous system gets so keyed up, you can't sleep, your adrenals are all jacked, your digestion's crap. You know, it's just, it's a real thing. We just don't recognize it.
No.
Yeah.
He was in burnout so bad his brain was bleeding.
Who?
Rick Fry.
Oh, that's wild.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Like he was like the youth pastor, the national youth director. He was literally on a flight every single week somewhere doing something.
Yeah.
And he just, it literally shot his physical body.
I call it the curse of the capable. Really, really capable people tend to burn out because there's so many asks on their time, demands on their time, and then they have a high level for themselves. And when you're like us, you never feel like you're doing enough. You always feel like I'm not living up to my potential. Must be nice to just not know about your potential.
I mean, sometimes I feel like I'd rather be blissfully unaware of my potential than be like, oh yeah, I can do that.
Yeah. Sorry, but anyway, I just wanted to clarify that. Like in other countries, it's not like really well taught in America, but it's a real thing. Carry on. Yeah.
So we went on sabbatical and ended up going off staff in Danville, and because basically I was at the point where the church was my first priority and my wife was not, and we just had Kendall, our first daughter, and she goes, hey, either we're moving to Texas or I'm going to Texas without you. And she was just more like trying to like set a precedence of like, hey, I'm going and you can figure out your own stuff. I took it as like, hey, you're going to divorce me. And I'm like, I don't want to get divorced like at all. So like it was an intense,
it was a big moment in the Wimberly.
Big moment. And then so we basically packed up and moved to San Antonio, Texas. We were there for 3 years. I was on staff at my uncle's church for 2 years. And just kind of do
the same kind of things there. Like
I did young adults, and then they had a school that they were starting, and I was the site director for that because they also partner with Southeastern University. So you could do that, and so we did that for 2 years, and just kind of got to a point where it's like, dude, this isn't it. You know, you guys are different. I'm different. I would rather move on than keep trying to make something work that like square peg, round hole. Like nothing wrong, but just like. I'm not the guy for you. And so then that's where I started I started applying everywhere, couldn't find a job to save my freaking life. Don't know what it was. And then my brother Matt's like, hey dude, you should apply at Subsplash, which is a company that sells technology and engagement to churches and nonprofits. And I applied, and they were the only people to give me a shot. So been working at Subsplash in our sales organization for the last 2 years, and now I'm one of our senior ministry consultants.
That's awesome.
Working with churches and nonprofits. So
yeah, that's really cool.
Oh.
Yeah,
I didn't know. Is Matt work there too?
Oh,
I didn't realize that's where I didn't realize you guys work together.
Yeah, we're in the same role on separate teams.
Yeah, that's so cool.
So
okay,
it's fun.
Yeah, that's cool. So, and you both have ministry background. You grew up in the church. Your dad was, a big deal. He's a big deal to me anyway. I think Tim Wimberly is the man.
Yeah. He's a pretty cool dude. He's been through a lot.
Yeah, he has been. Yeah. So one of the interesting things about the Wimberly family, 5 boys, Justin, Noah, Matt, Zach, Wesley, in that order, if I remember right.
You're correct.
All of them, back when you guys were kids, so I think Justin was like 16, and then Wesley must have been 7, because there's about 10. Isn't there almost 10 years between all you guys? 8 to 10.
There's 7 years between me and Wes, so there's 9 years between Justin and Wes.
Yeah. We asked your parents, how do you do it? All your kids are amazing. How do you do it? Juliet, at the time, our oldest, was just a clown show. So Pastor Bert and Pastor Jan.
Juliet, your dad loves you, by the way.
I do. She knows that I love her. But Juliet was like a youth ministry kid. We had hundreds and hundreds of kids around all the time, teenage kids. And so she would just, her feet never touched the ground. People would pick her up, take her everywhere. I remember one time Taylor Hayrow had Juliet. We didn't know she had her. And she was up in one of the outbuildings or something with Juliet. We thought Juliet was missing. She was gone for like 15 minutes till we finally got a hold of Taylor Hayrow, you know. It was like that. It's like, we're like, where's Jules? Like, some kid has her somewhere. Yeah. And so also we were like really, really deep into youth ministry at the time. So there were always students at our home. As you know, in ministry, you end up usually working 7 days a week, which is not even biblical. You should have one Sabbath. But you have church services on Sundays, usually on Saturdays. All of your youth students' events are on Saturdays. All their games are on Friday nights. You literally, to punch the clock to get your paycheck, you got to do 9 to 5. But to actually build a youth ministry, it's 9 to 9, or usually 7 to 9. It's coffee meetings with your Bible study groups in the morning. I mean,
absolutely.
I would work 100 hours usually as a youth pastor, and I was, you know, I don't want to I guess it doesn't matter, but I mean, we were making like $1,800 a month. Yeah, that's like the pay.
I mean, that's more than what I got when I worked there. So
and so you work hundreds of hours for like no pay. I don't blame the church. The church has the resources it has, and I'm a big person. I signed up for it. But when you want to be excellent, you have to put in the time. Right. And but my point is, so Juliet's life, like, I mean, she didn't really have a bedtime. We were not very disciplined on that because we were always at youth stuff. She was sleeping under tables and stuff at youth events. Like, that's just what the life was. Plus, I decided to start a homeless ministry and all of that. And I had given away Juliet's stroller, many of her toys to kids that, you know, and so I was kind of like off my rocker trying to follow Jesus, like, but not being healthy. And so anyway, the point is, she was a tyrant. Juliet was. You could not get her to go to bed. You couldn't get her to do anything. And then the thing that like was the straw that broke the camel's back was, if you know Pastor Jan, she's very, very sweet. And which makes sense because Pastor Bert's ornery, and sweet people marry ornery people. Look at you and Afton. Look at me and Marie. Right? Like that's how it goes. So Pastor Jan was like, Juliet, hi, and grabbed her, and Juliet just went, slapped her straight in the face. Yikes. And we're like, okay, we got to do something about this kid. And we're like, oh my gosh, we're so sorry. She's like, it's fine, you know. 2 days later, we go and say, all your kids are amazing. How'd you do it? And your dad said, there is a secret. I'll teach it to you, but you have to come to dinner with Dana and I. So where did he take us?
Probably Plaza Jalisco.
I think it was Plaza Jalisco, yeah.
They freaking love that restaurant, dude.
Love it, yeah.
I'm pretty sure my parents kept that restaurant in business for a good season.
I think it might have been Plaza Jalisco. He took us to a restaurant, and, you know, he wants to talk. You know your dad. How you doing? How you really doing?
Yes.
So Tim's famous for saying, how are you doing? And then you just give him the normal answer, and then goes, how you really doing? And he just wants to dig. That's just who he is. And Dana's very opposite of that. Dana's very pragmatic, very, you know, like black and white, like, and Tim is all about emotion, and like, he's not emotional, although he is a bit, but he's really wants to minister to the person, you know?
Yes,
so
absolutely.
He's digging into our lives, you know, and I'm like, can we just know what the secret is? We came here for the secret. And that's when he taught us listen first time, which Craig Brown, who is one of my teammates on Thematic Podcast, he owns the YouTube channel and the TikTok channel Bible Time, 2 million followers. Like, he taught listen first time at multiple churches. That he learned from us, that I learned from your dad, that your dad learned from Pastor Don.
Yes.
It has literally changed so many families' lives. Juliet was like a tiny Hitler running our home. And then 6 months later, Angel. Angel.
Yeah.
Now when I see parents are like, can't do anything, I'm like, well, yes, you can.
You want to know the secret? You have to come to dinner with us.
You want to know the secret? Come to dinner with us. We're actually doing a dinner with Allison and Greg soon. I said, call Pastor Tim. I'll talk to you too. I'll tell you my experience. Tell us, like, as a kid, what was it like? I mean, you're the home that so many people were like, how did you get such amazing boys? But what was happening behind the scenes?
I mean, a lot was happening behind the scenes. I think people saw what they wanted to. And I mean, granted, like we have a great family. I feel like, I'm very blessed to come from the family that I come from. But we weren't perfect.
Yeah.
And I think the nice part is our parents never demanded perfection from us.
Yeah.
Even though being pastors' kids, the church put the expectation of perfection.
Yeah, they do.
And that's why a lot of people in Living Water back in the good old days never liked me, because I just said, hey, to your expectations, because I'm not gonna be you. Yeah, I'm not gonna be what you want me to be.
Yeah.
And so, but I think there was a lot going on at home. I remember when I was about 12 or 13 years old, and we got into one of these scenarios, and me and my dad were just
I blame Zach for this, by the way. I thought it was Zach this whole time. He actually corrected the record with me. I know the story you're about to tell. Go ahead.
The one where my dad tackled me?
Yes.
Yeah. Where I'm like starting to come into like my body's starting to change. I'm 13 years old.
I can take this guy.
Yeah, you man, like let's go.
Yeah.
Like and
I didn't realize you were the most rebellious of the kids.
Yeah, most people forget that I was arrested when I was 12.
Yeah.
You want to know why? It's because I didn't listen the first time.
100%.
My parents told me to stay on Thumbwater High School campus, and I didn't.
Yeah.
You didn't do it. You went to the bridge.
But anyway, sorry to interrupt, but like for years, I thought it was Zach in my memory. It was you the whole time.
It's probably because Zach and I are the most alike.
Yeah.
Out of the five of us, probably. In this regard, but yeah, like I started to get into it with my dad, and like started to like come at him like we were gonna go at it, and my dad just tackled me to the ground, and he just put me in a headlock and just squeezed, and literally just said, "You're not gonna win."
You're not gonna win.
That's what happens.
We've literally just talked about that about his son. I'm like, you cannot let your son win.
I want to do with my 5-year-old.
Jackie's been full tilt Hitler mode the last week. Like it's been rough. Terrible.
How old is he?
3. He just turned 3.
Everybody says the terrible twos.
Dude,
I call BS.
Yeah, it's 3s and 4s.
2 years
Threes?
Because they can talk, they have a will, and they will tell you.
Oh my God. 3 years I wanted, there's, thank God I'm bald, because my hair would have fell out if I had
Juliet
hair.
was 3 when we started.
2 years old, Jackson, perfect.
Angel.
Perfect boy. Yeah. Could never do anything wrong. 3 years old, I'm like texting my wife, I'm out. See ya. I don't even know what that means. I'll be back later.
Yeah. But but I think what was always consistent, and even as a youth pastor and still to this day, when parents ask me, how do you do this? Like, what do I do with my kids? And you said it. You learned the secret of and it's not just, the secret isn't listening the first time. The secret is, this is the standard of our home.
The standard. And we never changed
and
the line.
And you didn't. And you said, what, 6 months later?
It was 6 months. Yeah.
6 months.
Yeah.
And I think that was the thing that my parents always did, was they never wavered on the standard of what we were supposed to do.
That is the secret they taught us. It's not the phrase, it's the consistency.
It's the consistency of it. And that's what we always got at home. And we never got anything different when we were out in public.
And kudos to your parents. Because all you boys are doing so great.
Yeah. It's just a credit to them saying, hey, this is what we're going to do. And they did the work. Yeah. We weren't easy. 5 boys, all under the
all high testosterone,
9,
all rowdy.
From 0 to 9, you have 5 boys.
Yeah.
In sports, playing football, like we just went to town.
Yeah.
And so I think that was the big thing that we just always did, and there was the standard. And if you didn't want to listen to the standard, there were consequences.
As I understand from your dad, there was basically 2 rules in your home: do not disrespect your mother.
Correct.
And listen first time.
Correct.
Those are literally, to this day, the only 2 rules we have in our house.
Yeah. Like when we were kids.
We took Tim and Dana's book and we said, okay, we're going to do it because we love the fruit in your life. Like every Wimberly kid because I had hundreds of kids. Man, I don't know why it's emotional. You were incredible. You don't even recognize how good of human beings you were. So many of the other students were they were brutally challenging. They had no humility. They wouldn't accept any response. In fact, all of their current issues are probably still my fault to them. But man, you had humility, a desire for excellence. You would always just show up and you treated people well. Did you make mistakes? Yeah, dozens of them. But when the dust would settle, there was humility. And I watched the fruit in your brother's lives, and I remember telling Maria, I'm like, we need that. Whatever they have, we need it. Yeah. And praise God, we got it. And our kids are so quality that when we've gone to a new church, they will ask us to come teach a parenting class or invite us to speak or preach a sermon about our kids. And And our kids are genuinely incredible.
Yeah.
And all we did was that playbook. So anyway, thanks for being amazing.
Simple.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the grand scheme, it's not simple in the actual act of it.
Yeah.
Being a parent myself.
Yeah, I would say it's a simple concept. It's not easy in execution.
No.
You've got to stay the course.
Absolutely.
It's leaving the restaurant after the first time when you've said you cannot scream.
Yep.
Let's go outside.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And this world, like there will be people in the comments being, oh, you can't spank a kid. You can't, like bull crap. You have no clue what you're talking about.
You don't.
You are an idiot if you think that.
And that's
I
why
have
your
a bunch
kids
of degrees. Yep, your kids are probably trash.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'll say it like it is.
Yeah.
Because we have weakened the family unit so hard with all of this garbage. And the fruit's there. It's the police have to control people because their children never learned how to control themselves.
Correct.
Yeah. You have rampant theft, rampant immorality, rampant all these things because no one disciplined those kids.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Full stop.
100%.
Yeah.
And it's not fun.
No, it isn't fun. It's super hard, but it's worth it.
It's worth it because the byproduct is a kid that not only is going to be something that you, I think, become extremely proud of, but they're also going to be a benefit to society and not a freaking pain. They're going to understand what hard work is.
Yeah.
And they're going to be willing to show up and do it. But like there's just so many things that go into that.
Yeah.
That it's like as much as you don't want to do it right then in that moment because all you want to do is probably chuck them through a wall.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're just human. But at the end of the day, like what you know it's going to produce down the road.
Yeah.
And I think and regardless of what, I mean, granted, like you hear about the stories of like how great we turned out. Like I said, I was arrested when I was 12. I was partying in high school, being an idiot, doing all these things. And we're like, well, how can you do that if you had such a great home? Because I made the choice.
Right.
To say, this is what I wanted.
In it. Yeah.
Yeah. It was my choice. I chose to do it, but yet I had to choose to live with the consequences of it. But what never changed was the standard.
That's right.
And what never changed was the grace that I received when I screwed up.
Come on. That's it.
Like, it never changed.
Yeah.
Even when I, after high school moved to the DR and had secrets about my life of things that I did when I was in high school that nobody knew. And Rich Root was the very first person I ever told about any of it.
One of the best humans in the world.
One of the best human beings, and literally told him all about my past and just choices that I had made. And I just wept, and he sat there with me and held me in a house in the Dominican Republic with no air conditioning. And we're just, I'm a disgusting mess sweating, and he's just holding me. And, and
Gosh,
then
I love that guy.
The very first night that my parents come down with Anthem.
Are some of the best people ever.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Some of the best people.
I have a great story about Isaiah after this. Carry on.
There we go. But yeah, so then like my parents come with Anthem and down to do their missions trip. And the very first night we're hanging out at the hotel and like, I couldn't do it anymore. Like I couldn't keep this secret. Wow. And so like, I haven't seen my parents in 9 months face to face. And like the first night that we're all hanging out, I'm like, hey, can we go talk in your room and just bare my soul to them?
Oh my God.
Because I didn't know what to do. Like I'm the type of person, like when I know I have to do something, I'm going to rip the Band-Aid off.
Yeah. That seems like you.
Period.
Yeah.
Made a lot. I mean, like granted, like, I basically in the DR had like a girlfriend who I convinced myself I was going to marry, went to camp. That was the year that you were there when Chad prayed over me and my brothers.
I remember that.
And like I got home from that camp. And I called the girl in the DR who I like convinced myself I was going to marry and said, hey, we're done. But it was also her birthday that day. Oh, no, I knew. So sorry. But I didn't care. I didn't care. I'm going to rip the Band-Aid off.
You want to follow
It had to be done. But but the same thing is the standard was always the standard.
Yeah.
But grace was always the grace, regardless. And that part never changed, which I think it made you want to live up to the standard. And I think that's where a lot of parents kind of miss the mark a little bit.
Yeah.
Is that the standard's not held with the same amount of grace.
Yeah. Truth and love.
Yes. It has to be the same because then it makes you actually want to live into the standard rather than try to rebel against it.
Yep.
Because you see the fruit of what it does.
It's the whole story of the cross. Jesus just can't let us off for our sin. Sin has to be punished. So he got on the cross himself.
Correct.
Because he can't just let it go or he would quit being just universally. Sin has to have a consequence.
Yep.
And that's what you're talking about. I wish more people understood that, because we're in a world right now where if we don't say everything you're doing is fine, then we don't love you. That's just garbage.
100%.
Grace is, these are mistakes. We can call them mistakes. These are sins. We can call them sins. And there are real consequences. And I will be there with you through them. But I'm not going to shield you from them. No. And I'm not going to call your stuff not sin. But I still love you.
Yeah.
That actually can coexist. And it coexists in the healthiest relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There you go.
Dude, that's beautiful. So Isaiah Root, which is
Josiah.
Oh, Josiah. Yeah, sorry. Josiah Root. Man, I'm really bad at names as we're learning as we go through this. Josiah.
Sorry about that, Jeff.
Sorry, Jeff. Josiah was the cutest little kid. I think he was about 5 years old when this happened. This is when they lived in Olympia. They were getting ready to go to the DR.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, Rich and Kirsten Root are Kirsten. See,
you had it right the first
time. Rich and Kirsten are the kindest people. He's really meek, humble, very, very funny, very, very true, just like the truest guy ever.
Yeah.
She is passionate, Latina, like very, very, very funny. Cuban. That's what she is.
Just wants to show
just fiery but funny and just filled with life. They're a wonderful couple, genuinely.
100%.
So their kids are like one of each. Like one is like just like Rich, and then one's just like Kirsten. Anyway.
And then you have Esther, who's the combination
Esther's
of
like
both.
the combo, yeah. So I walk into the apartment one day, and this is when Josiah was into his wrestling phase, and he had just squiggled out of the bath. Kirsten was in the bath. Rich answered the door. He like slipped out of the towel, buck naked, runs, and he sees me. I'm the youth pastor, remember? I'm like, hey. And then all of a sudden he comes out of their apartment like a bullet, jumps on my leg, punches me in the nuts, and he's totally nude. He's locked onto my thigh, and I'm trying to push him off, because when we would visit their house, he would like wrestle me, and he would pretend to be like Batman and Spider-Man and stuff. So I was the bad guy, and so he was used to like wrestling me, and I'd like, guard my head and like block the shots. So he's nude. I'm laughing, and Rich is laughing so hard he can't get his naked son off of me, and I'm just shouting, "I'm gonna get arrested!" It's so. There you go, Josiah. That really happened. Your dad will remember that story.
Dude.
Yeah. It was it felt like 20 minutes. I'm sure it was shorter than that, but
probably.
Dude, we could not breathe. We were laughing so hard because he was going full wrestling mode on my leg. Yeah.
Absolutely. That was definitely Josiah for sure.
Josiah.
Yeah.
Okay, sweet. We have, dude, believe it or not, we've already talked for almost an hour.
Seriously?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. What's the time? 57 minutes.
Whoa.
57 minutes.
We're killing it.
Okay. Just reminiscing.
Yeah, no, it's been fun. It's been fun. Okay, anything that else? I wanted to ask a couple of questions.
Yeah.
You were a pastor. I was a pastor. You worked at a church.
Yeah.
You were in ministry. So for people who don't know that watch, there's like, there's lay ministry, which is people who volunteer that are in a ministerial like leadership role. Then there's professional pastors. There's no debate on here. Back up a little bit. There's no debate on whether or not a pastor can be paid. Biblically, they can. It can be a job. The Bible says, "Don't muzzle an oxen while they tread out the grain," which means like if they're doing the work, they can eat from the work. Paul says that it's okay. So if there's any debate in the comments, you guys can suck it. Scripturally, people can be paid.
Bible actually says to pay them double.
Yeah, exactly.
They missed that part.
So
most people miss that part.
Now, I happen to think my viewpoint is in a lot of ways the church has lost its way because it's turned into a business more than it's turned into a ministry. That's one of the reasons why I have a charity for widows and orphans, because of James 1:27, pure and undefiled religion is this, to care for the widow and orphan in their affliction. There you go. But we've done typically pretty good at building large buildings, throwing big events, and getting to try to magnetize or attract people to hear an important message, which would be important to us.
Yes.
I think we're pretty good at that. I believe that type of church is slowly dying.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was curious about your perspective on it. I believe the new iteration of the church, so to speak, like it kind of goes in waves, right? And what I believe the future is going to be a service-based church where you're serving your community, and the way that you'll get to win the time to speak into their life is by serving them.
Correct.
So that's what I think is going to happen. I think it's going to be a combination of that and home churches is where I think.
I think that's the latter. Like it has to be both.
It has to be both.
Because I think if if you just let people run free in their churches, well, we're just going to serve people. That's really, really good. But the Bible also says don't neglect coming together.
Yeah, it's Hebrews.
And so in holding on to that, I think you're 100% right. And I see that all the time in my line of work.
Yeah.
Because all I do is talk to pastors.
Yeah.
And Subsplash, I love you, but my God.
Yeah.
Talking to people that literally think that they're the reason that their church is. I've had conversations with pastors who are like, well, we did this, and because I did this, we saw this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, because you did it.
Yeah.
Just like things like that. And you're right. We've gotten so good. And I think in any organization, there has to be business aspects to it because you have to they're running a budget. They've got to do all those types of things. There's those things to it. But at the core of what it is, we've just missed the mark.
Yeah.
Because I read the Gospels. Jesus was hardly ever in a church.
Yeah. Yeah. He was all like,
Jesus was at the dinner table with sinners.
Yeah. Come on.
And like, I also work part-time at Lululemon and,
for the discounts.
For the discounts, but also I'm very much a people person, and Subsplash is remote, and seeing people on a computer screen just does not cut it for me.
Yeah.
And
downtown Spokane?
Yeah, downtown
I was
Spokane.
Just there on Sunday.
Oh, were you?
Yeah.
Dang it, I wasn't there. Yeah, so I worked there, and the more that I work there, the more I'm like, dude, like, I can do more ministry here
100%.
than I can getting paid by a church.
Yeah, 100%. We have a lot of pastor friends, tons. Like, still, lots of my network that I would consider great friends are in sort of institutionalized church, business style church. I'm saying that my viewpoint is I believe that is not attractive to this generation, which is why they're having trouble. And I think it's only natural that things go in phases, just like a human life starts in diapers and ends up in diapers, but there's a lot of change in between.
Yeah.
And so the church that Jesus started when he was on the earth, it's meant to persist. People don't, like Judah Smith says, people don't need relevance. They need revelation.
Correct.
And so it's our job as Christians to help the gospel, share the gospel in ways that they can digest nowadays. And my viewpoint, and since I've been doing it differently, has been serving is just so good. But I agree with you. You need teaching. You need a place for the fivefold to operate and things like that.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what the next 10 years will hold for the church.
I think it's going to I think there's going to be a big shift.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because I think also the churches, the churches that stay doing the current church model will be the ones that, in my opinion, are the ones that hold steadfast to what Scripture actually says. And
and there are a handful of,
and there are some of those churches that are out there. Yeah. But I think that's more than anything because of the age that we live in. People just want truth, and they don't want fake.
Right.
I would say the only adjustment to that is I think people seeking God, no matter the level, baby Christians to mature, they just want truth.
Yes.
Half of the world wants to plug their ears to the truth and call the truth hate.
Correct.
Right? And I've always thought, man, that's how you can actually figure out what's true, is like, in my faith, I don't need you to agree with me. For it to be true.
No.
I don't need you to validate my beliefs.
Right.
I hold them regardless of what you think of me. Whereas many of the false beliefs out there require us to change our beliefs to come to them. Mm-hmm. That shows you just insecurity.
It's not true.
It's not true. Yeah.
You just want validation.
You just want to be validated.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I ain't going to validate your decisions.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
Not in a mean way. I'll still love and accept you. Like, that's the coolest part about Lululemon is the fact that I get to hang out with people that live drastically different lives than me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've had conversations, and I'm like, no. Because heck no, this is the standard and belief that I have. But yet that doesn't change who you are to me and my calling as a Jesus follower to love you regardless.
Yeah. And love is defined. That's the cool thing. It's patient, it's kind, it's good, it's gentle. We need to be all those things to people who are even our enemies.
Yes.
That is what we're supposed to do. What we can't do is agree and say, oh, no, that's great what you're doing.
Yeah, that's totally fine.
That's totally fine.
Here's a scripture that you can take totally out of context to validate what you're doing.
Yeah.
No.
So to me, the big, and I've always longed to talk about, we talked about it a little bit on thematic, but if your belief requires my full obedience or changeover for you to accept me, you're in a cult. Think about it.
I don't think you're wrong.
Every cult is the same. It's like, totalitarian of belief. You have to believe everything or you're out.
Yeah.
Real Christianity is not like that.
Right.
No.
We go, there's different maturity levels. You're still welcome. We love you. You're going to have lots of issues. We love you.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. Oh, you're my enemy? I'm called to love you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We can totally disagree. I do not need you to validate me, and you should only need Christ to validate you. You're still welcome.
Yep.
That's how you know what the real truth is.
Yeah.
IMO.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So anyway,
it's interesting. I think church is going to go through a big shift. I feel like
it should.
It really should.
It's okay.
It's kind of gross, to be honest.
Yeah.
A lot of it is.
It's challenging. I talked to a lot of people that were students when I was a youth pastor. I mean, there's 1,000 things I wish I would have done different. That knowing what I know today, I would change.
Oh yeah.
But you're just a burnt.
You don't know what you don't know.
You're a burnt out human trying to keep your job and please everyone. And
that's like what we said. Hindsight's always going to be 20/20.
Yeah. I remember one time. And I love Grant Esborg. I think Grant Esborg's a stud. His sons are great too. Like Caleb was in one of my leadership classes, and I said, I think that Jesus would likely be a pacifist if he was here today. And I was quoting the part of the scripture where it was like, live by the sword, die by the sword. He healed the ear. Like I was saying, my belief was we were talking about like, I can't remember what war we were thinking about going into, but like, would Jesus forgive you if you killed someone?
Probably Iraq or Afghanistan.
Yeah, probably. And I'm like, 100%. They're like, the Bible hates murder and the shedding of innocent blood.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, it doesn't say all killing. Some killing is justified. If you're defending yourself, like I think you're good there. And that's what we were talking about. But I said, but I believe Jesus would be as a pacifist as much as possible.
Yeah.
And I would get calls over stuff like that from parents. I got a call from Grant Esborg about that. So, I told Emmanuel Sloan, you remember E-Man?
Yeah, dude.
Oh,
I told E-Man, he goes, hey, Pastor Daniel, is it a sin to have an earring? I'm like, no, you're good. Called into the office. Terry Sloan. And you do not
I sit here as a pastor with all these tattoos.
Dude, and if anybody knows Terry Sloan, dude, that guy is an
ex-military
bad A, dude.
Yeah, he is.
He's a drill sergeant.
Yeah, you don't mess with that guy.
Black man, 6'2", stacked. Like that guy was going to rip my head off.
Yeah.
And one of the interesting things I didn't think about, because I was only thinking scripturally, he was thinking about a young black man having an earring and what...
There was a cultural context
There's a cultural context, and that his son wouldn't be taken seriously in his academics. And I'm like, man, I still don't think it's a sin if it's not right for you.
No,
okay?
you're right.
But yeah, I'm talking about as a youth pastor getting drug into it. That was Pastor Bert, Terry Sloan, me, Shane, and I think your dad was at that meeting, and it was like hellfire over. Is it okay to have an earring? I'm like, yeah, you're good. Yeah. So like the littlest things, a lot of the students don't realize I was literally in trouble almost constantly for saying something wrong. Mm-hmm. Is that your experience?
Oh my God. I don't know how much I can share about my experience because my experience was different because I got hired on to Living Water where I had grown up since I was 5 years old.
Yeah, fair.
And it was also a very interesting time because that's when the transition was happening from Pastor Bert to Pastor John, who was brought to Living Water by my dad.
Yeah.
And my dad had always been the person that everybody said was going to take over the church, even from Pastor Bert's mouth.
Yeah.
So it was an interesting time. Not that like I could care less that it didn't go to my dad. I think it's great that it didn't go. To my dad because where they're at.
We all thought, and everyone loved Pastor Terry. Pastor Terry went on to Rochester, but he's a great pastor, struggling with cancer right now. God love him. Oh man, I hope he gets through it.
Yeah.
But your dad was the guy. We all knew it.
Everybody,
he's getting the church.
Everybody knew
I actually requested to get moved under Pastor Tim.
Yeah, most people would.
Yeah, he was amazing.
And so like there was an interesting dichotomy there with the transition happening.
No.
Yeah. Pastor John said no to a lot of things.
Yes, he did. And I hope he watches this because we just talked to him last week. I love John.
Oh, dude,
he said no to a lot of things.
John's like a big brother to me. Actually, funny story. His wife Fawn actually took me to see The Lion King, first movie I ever saw in the movie theater when I was a kid.
Yeah,
like that's how far back we go.
P.S. To me, that's one of the things that's really cool about genuine, true church relationships. Like there's so much water under the bridge in these friendships.
Yeah.
And John and I talked recently, and I'm like, dude, I love you no matter what. Like, I don't feel like, because John fired me essentially. Like, he helped me out the door. I was burnt out. I needed it, but John also sent me to counseling with my wife when we were on burnout. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you get to this point where you're in 8 years in or whatever, you're just making poor decisions. I mean, I didn't make any immoral ones, but just my heart's not in it. I'm constantly fighting with people.
Yeah.
And John, it was like shooting old Yeller. It was a mercy. I'm really glad he did it. I have no issue with John.
No.
Ever.
None.
I know lots of leaders have to make tough decisions, and John's probably, you talk to 5 people and 2 will hate John and 3 won't, because when you're a leader, you have to make decisions.
Yep.
And when people don't agree in our modern society, it turns into like,
and they don't agree with a decision that they weren't asked to make.
Yeah.
And they just would do it different. And who cares? They would do it different.
Yeah.
But like, I love hearing that from you. I feel that to be true too. It's like, I have so much history of these people and tons of grace for them.
Absolutely. I'm not in their shoes.
I'm not in their shoes. Yeah. And I messed up a million times, and Jesus has always had grace on me.
Yep. Yeah. And so it was an interesting time. Mm-hmm. And then, but the reason that I got hired was because of Shane. Shane was the one that wanted me on the team.
Yeah.
And then Shane left.
Yeah. See ya.
Yeah. Shane's like, hey guys, I'm going to Jesus Culture in Sacramento. Whatever, dude.
Yeah.
And that's where things changed even more, because and I've had conversations with people. I just didn't understand. I always felt like when I was at Living Water that I was like everybody was just trying to put a muzzle on me.
Yeah.
And I had a conversation with Lisa Graber. Praise God for Lisa Graber. She worked at Living Water. She's known me since I was a kid. And I was talking to her one day, and she said, Noah, you've been here for how long? I said, I've been here my whole life. She goes, has your entire experience at Living Water been something that you would be proud of? No, because I was Noah, and I made a lot of really dumb decisions. Yeah. And what she helped me realize was that a lot of people still saw me as Noah from the past.
Yeah.
And then where that shifted was when Stephen Mulkey got tasked to be the next gen director, and he became my boss.
Yeah.
And it was like right at the time we were also getting ready to transition out. And I love the guy because he was so straight with me. He goes, you have nothing here.
Yeah.
He goes, you are never going to get promoted here. You're never going to move up. There's just nothing here. And it's not because you're doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
Or that anybody else is doing anything wrong. There's just nothing here.
Yeah.
So when I got the call to go to Danville, he's like, you should take that. And so it's like,
there's your way of escape.
Yeah. Because it was just, and like, too, like there was, I couldn't even imagine being John Colbert taking over a church from Bert Smith. Like, the man is the most terrifying human being I've ever met in my life.
Yeah.
Threatened to rip my heart out with a spoon if I ever hurt Afton when I were dating.
Yeah. So when I was 6 months at Living Water, and I had heard all the stories because Bert's a Navy SEAL, like a NASCAR driver, dragster. I can't remember, some crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was in the copy room that became the tech room. It used to be a copy room. Mm-hmm. And I come into the copy room to make the bulletin for Sunday morning because I was a graphics guy. And he met me at that threshold, and we both went right, we both went left. And I'm like, oh, sorry, I'm in your way. And he's like, he just stared me down like with a smolder. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're terrifying. And he goes, Daniel, grow up. Like, second thing he ever said to me. And I'm like, this is my point. You're terrifying.
You're scary.
Yeah. Yeah. Daniel, grow up. Yeah. I'm like, oh my God.
Yes, sir.
I peed in my pants a little and got out of his way. That's Bert Smith.
100%.
Like, he is intensity personified.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and I love him. I really respect him.
Anyway, I love the guy.
Yes. But carry on. John's taking over for him.
John's taking over. So it was this interesting transition.
Yeah.
And I think I was there for a good season because I think Pastor John was figuring out who he was as a leader in that season, as he should be. And I was figuring that, but I was also very confident in who I was, and I was just going to be Noah. Yeah. And so I just was Noah in that season. And for some, that rubbed people the wrong way. And Lord bless you. That's good for you. If I rubbed you the wrong way, sorry, wasn't my intention at all.
Love you.
But I just don't have it in me to be somebody else other than me. And so it was a really sweet season. There were a lot of really cool relationships with students that I built that I still have today.
Me too.
Like Cole Barker is one of them.
Yeah, Cole's awesome.
Like Jude Edwards.
Jude.
Freaking Jude.
I love his hair right now.
Jaden Sanderson. Oh, yeah,
Jaden
dude.
Sanderson, genius.
Jude, and then Sam Kobler. Those were like my 4 boys.
Yeah.
And like every other Friday morning, I would go pick them up before school, and we'd go to Starbucks, do our devos together.
Those boys were in a band all together, right?
The Phobites.
The Phobites.
Because they wrote
minus Cole, because Cole doesn't play anything musical. He was the hype guy.
They did do a music video one time that
Cole was in.
Yeah, and I know about it because they suckered me into filming it for him. But then like they played me this song, and I'm like, it's so stupid but catchy, and like I just love all.
They
of them
made the
too
Buddies
much.
Never Die theme song.
Yeah,
the Phobites did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Like those were my boys, and like I mean, just a year and a half ago, Cole and I ran a marathon together in Houston. Like, just still doing stuff and still doing life with those guys. And, so there was a lot of really sweet things and a lot of things that I'm like, first of all, I'd never move back to Olympia, Washington.
Never.
And never in my life. I just can't handle the weather.
Yeah, the weather's horrible.
It's absolutely god awful. Yeah. And so, but it was an interesting season. There was a lot of things that I wish I could have done different. Yeah. And go from there. But still, I can look back on it, and Living Water is still my home church to me because it was a church I was at for 20 plus years.
It's a boot camp too. We would always joke about it being a boot camp because a lot of
that's the truth.
A lot of great leaders came out of there. You got beat up while you were there. I think, and I'm not saying abused. I'm saying beat up on purpose. I chose that word. I don't feel like I was abused.
I think beat up is the right.
But I definitely was told the truth. I was also allowed to make mistakes, and I made them. Mm-hmm. And when my shenanigans were too much, I was gone. And I think that's, I have a certain level of respect for that. Like I did feel like I was allowed to make mistakes, I was allowed to grow up as a person. But I started there when I was 24. I mean, what do you know when you're 24?
Yeah.
Basically nothing.
I was 23.
Yeah.
When I started working there?
Oh yeah. Actually I was 23. Yeah. I started in 2003.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then left in 2012. So, anyway, a wonderful church with a big legacy, and just like all big legacies, there's some messy stuff in there. There's some,
I don't think you'll ever find a legacy without a mess.
Yeah, that's a really good quote. I like that. But I think back, I've actually reached out to several students that I felt like a good example that I feel like I can share. Nothing sinful, but just like some people's personal information is not, I don't want to share, but like there was a family that got divorced, and you know what it's like being a pastor, hundreds of hours a week. I was just busy. I thought, so the wife, the mom and the 2 daughters left the church to go to another church, and the husband didn't really attend. And so they went off. I knew where they went to. They went to Evergreen. I believe it was Evergreen, and Evergreen's a great church. Yeah. I just stopped reaching out to those kids. Year goes by. We're walking in, I think, Albertsons. We bump into the mom, and we were friends, really good friends at Living Water. And I was like, hey, how are you? I haven't seen you in a long time. And she was stone cold. And I was like, are you okay? She's like, no, we're not okay. Like, you left my kids. Like, you never called them. Mm-hmm. You never checked on them. Dude, that never left me.
No.
I thought, yeah, they moved on. They don't want to be here. And that's a lesson I'll never, I repented, obviously.
Yeah.
And I asked them to forgive me. But like, just because someone leaves you doesn't mean Jesus doesn't chase them.
Correct.
And if I'm going to be like Jesus, I better at least call. I better make him tell
Send
me
the text.
To quit. Yeah. Dude, that marked me. And that was like 5 years in. I'm like, how many people have I done this to? Just busyness. Just like, oh, they went to another institutional church. Like, I wonder how many people feel like that about me.
Yeah.
You know, man, there's some stuff like that. There's 3 or 4 students, like I just talked to Garrett Nail, who I love, the other day. And I just said, if I ever did anything, I'm sorry. No excuse, just I'm sorry. I love you.
Yeah.
You know?
Totally.
And for him, there wasn't anything. He didn't have anything. But yeah, I do think about that because like, I mean, I had you in church. I had so many amazing people in church that I still have friendships with, you know, and I'm like, man, I was such an idiot when I was 23. Yeah. I'm so sorry.
You try to just do the best that you can in those scenarios.
I definitely did.
And you're never going to,
my best.
It's never going to be perfect. And I feel like that's the hard part when you're a pastor, is that you have the expectation to be perfect.
Yeah.
And really you're just not going to find that. But I think where that can kind of come into, where you can kind of balance that is the relational aspect.
Yeah.
Because when something goes wrong, you can pull from that relational equity a little bit, and it saves you. And you have to be humble and just to say, yo, that was on me. And you have, like, I think there are a handful of times that as a pastor of students and of people, that it was like, if I could do it all over again, man, I would do it so much different. Because at the end of the day, my job was to point you to Jesus.
Yeah.
And in this particular scenario, I missed.
Yeah, I pointed to me.
So I pointed to me and not to Jesus.
Yeah, that's really good.
And whether it was intentional or not, man.
Well, you have blind spots, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you went to counseling at the end of your ministry life. I went like 2/3 through mine. It's like ministry boils so much to the surface because it's such an intensely demanding, career.
It's demanding, but at the same time, it's a job where you get praised often.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like as a pastor, you preach, you're on stage, you talk, you lead people, and people stroke your ego.
Yeah, that's true.
And no matter how humble you are, there's always going to be a piece of you that looks for that validation.
Yeah, I think it does. It attracts people that need validation too. To the stage.
There are, I think it was Chris Hodges, who's the lead pastor at Church of the Highlands in Alabama and Georgia. They have like 27 campuses.
Jeez.
I mean, like
huge.
Over 100,000 people on a weekend. And it was a podcast, or it was in a session we were at a conference that he was speaking at. He literally said, he's like, I would probably guesstimate, and it was a high percentage. I don't remember what it is, so I don't want to quote it, but it was a high percentage of lead pastors are in a position of lead pastors because they just wanted to get to the top.
Yeah.
But the Lord never called them there.
Wow.
And that's why you see all this toxicity.
Yeah.
In the church. It's because people are operating in roles that the Lord never asked them to operate in.
Yeah.
But because, like you said, we've institutionalized it and we've made it this thing, I've got to climb the ladder.
Yeah.
I was a byproduct of that.
Yeah.
The reason I became the campus pastor at Vallejo and Danville was because we were sitting in Nashville, Tennessee at a conference, and I fought to be the campus pastor because in my mind I had to climb the ladder.
Yeah.
Because there was other youth pastors that were the next gen directors, that were campus pastors, that were site directors. And I felt like if I was doing my job well,
I should be that.
I should be that.
Yeah.
And praise God for Pastor Rick. I call him a risky releaser because he let me do all these things. Like I was sat on a senior leadership team of a church at 28 years old. Who in their right mind would give me a seat at the table like that to like speak into vision and to speak into these things? Like, dude, but he did it.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, the beauty is that the Lord's going to take care of his church.
Come on.
Because he pulled me out of a situation that I wasn't supposed to be in anymore, because it became more about me and me thinking that the Lord needs me rather than me needing him.
Yeah.
I was on a back road in Virginia playing on a golf course.
Yeah.
Because that's where I go to hear from the Lord sometimes. I just go get out on a golf course by myself. It's frozen.
Yeah.
So I'm literally playing this frozen golf course in Virginia, get in the car, and I just felt like the Lord said, turn the music off. I'm like, Lord, it's worship music. I'm going to worship you while I drive home. He goes, turn the music off. Like, I don't want to, me being stubborn. And I was like,
listen third time.
Listen the third time. That was the secret sauce my dad taught me. And so I finally turned it off. I'm driving back, and like maps took me this random way back. And like I'm driving down this like one-way road in the back roads of Virginia, and all of a sudden I just see this sheriff's van, lights on, and there's all these inmates in this field just working. And I'm literally thinking in the back of my mind, I'm going to die. an inmate's going to jump out from here, is going to kill me, steal the car. This is game over. And I'm driving. I'm kind of freaking out. And I come to this stop sign. And I just felt like the Lord said, you think you can do this without me? And I was like, oh, you're right.
I guess you can read my mind.
I guess you can read my mind. And it just like began this whole unraveling. But I think that's where a lot of times it's because we think we have to climb this ladder and we have to do all these things and carry roles. You know what, dude? The last thing Jesus modeled for us before he died on the cross was washing feet.
Yeah, that's really good.
And if you can't go wash someone's feet, don't ever think you can get on a platform and go teach somebody how to follow Jesus. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because if we're following Jesus, we're washing people's feet, which goes back to your point of like, it's the service aspect. We don't do that. We've created a consumer Christianity and no thanks.
Yeah.
It hasn't worked, at least for me. And I was a part of trying to build a consumer Christianity.
Yeah. I agree.
We all tried to do that with graphics and videos. Like, we all use our talents to glorify Jesus, but it's all kind of feeding this thing that eventually is going to go away because Jesus is going to come back and his church is going to reign, not ours.
Yeah.
Like when Jesus comes
who
back.
Gets to run PowerPoint in Jesus' church?
Andy Irwin.
God's best angel.
The Lord's specialist boy.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Best human ever.
Yeah, so that was a side tangent, but
that was really
it's a good
well
side
said.
Tangent, though.
Yeah, I think we should end with that. I would actually love to have you on again. We're gonna have Craig Brown on soon. Craig Brown has got a couple million followers. He's one of the things is he's like a social influencer pastor. He's a really good communicator. But one of the things that the Bible says, "Let another man's lips praise you." So I'll tell this about Craig, but Craig is one of the few pastors that has like a pretty mega following. That like in his life, when the cameras aren't on, when there is no people, he is just like Jesus. He is a great dad. I've had multiple people tell me that like, man, like Craig was the first big church pastor to ever like off the stage say, I'm sorry. Like he's just humble. He's a really wonderful guy. You remind me, you have that. You're just real. You have, you know, and I know you're a great dad. We didn't get a lot into your marriage and personal life. So we got to have you out again, but it is fun to talk about the old times.
It was.
Yeah.
It was good.
Dude, thanks for being on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Any wrap up anything for wrap? We got 6 minutes if we need them.
I got nothing. I ended up just sitting here and listening most of the time.
It was great.
Just taking stuff
You're so good at telling stories, too. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't even tell my favorite one.
Yeah. You got
Can you tell it in 4 minutes?
Can I tell it in 4 minutes? Absolutely.
Tell it. Let's end with
one of my most favorite memories, and this is, I think, the cool thing about just ministry is the memories that you get to create. We had winter camp one year, and it was at the church. We didn't go anywhere.
Was I there?
You were there. You were the one running it.
Okay. Perfect.
I was out of high school at this point. I wasn't married, but I was just a single.
You were a leader?
I was one of the youth leaders.
But you were looking for a wife.
I remember this. I remember this. It's the only time we did it at the church.
Yes. So like it was just a crazy, like everybody was doing different things going on. We were getting ready to go tubing the next day up at Snoqualmie. And the whole weekend, there's two things that were just so intriguing. The first part is we get done with the Friday night session and Daniel's like, I'm always the guy that's going to ask, hey, what else can I do before I go home? And Daniel's like, I got to go cook about 300 pounds of pasta. Do you want to come with me? We literally went back to your house. And we cooked.
Had so many pots going on
every single burner. Even we brought in extra burners and like stuff to put on the counters.
Yeah.
Of just boiling water to make pasta noodles and mix with pasta sauce.
Yeah.
You were also very, very particular about how long those noodles cooked for.
Had to be al dente.
Exactly.
Al dente, dude. Come on.
They had to be al dente. And so we stayed up till probably... I was at your house.
3 or 4 in the morning.
It was between 3 or 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
I stayed at your house making spaghetti.
Yeah.
I go home, go to sleep, get up the next morning. We're driving.
Which was 7. You had to get up at 7.
Yeah. No, before that. I had to be there at 7.
Be there at 7. Yeah, that's right. Because I lived like 2 blocks from the church. Yeah.
And I lived a little bit farther out in the Field of Dreams, so I had to drive like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Bless the Lord for that house.
Bless the Lord.
Sing praises.
But then we get to the church. We're getting ready to go. We're taking one of the shuttles to Snoqualmie. The downside was this shuttle bus, the church shuttle, the door was broken.
Yeah.
So it would randomly get caught by the wind and fly open. Daniel's driving the shuttle bus. No, it was Kevin Davidson, the bald guy.
Yeah.
And I was on his bus. He was driving, and the shuttle door just flies open. We're flying down the freeway at like 65 miles an hour. I'm leaning out the shuttle door, trying to close it, finally get it shut, and then I just sit in the stairway the rest of the drive.
For like 2 hours holding it. Yeah, I remember that.
My fingers are frozen, and I'm just holding the shuttle bus door closed.
Almost got frostbite.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure I was at that winter camp because I was a year before you.
Yes.
So if you had just graduated, it was my senior year-ish or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But this all sounds vaguely familiar.
Yeah. It was a great time.
It was a great time.
So there's my story in 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
You did
it. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you, bro.
Absolutely.
And,
Go team.
Can't wait to talk to you again.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
It was great.
Let's do it. Peace.
Bye.